Welcome to The Real with Joseph Labman. I am Joseph Labman. Thank you for tuning in this episode of The Real, taking time out of your day to come watch this episode. I really appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe for me. I'd really appreciate that as well. That's the best way you can support this channel and help me grow my content and grow this channel to where I'd like it to be. Everybody hit the like button for me on the way in on this video today. That also helps promote this video more in the algorithms, helps grow this channel more as well. Please share this content. I would really appreciate that. My guests would as well. If you would please share this episode with someone you know that maybe is interested in the topic we're talking about today. Please leave a comment below as well. We'd love to hear your guys' feedback. You can interact with myself and the guest on the panel and the live chat as well. Whatever we're talking about, just leave a comment there in the live chat. Pop in and say hello. We'll put it on the screen for you. And yeah, without further ado, let's get to the show. Welcome back to The Real with Joseph Labman. I am Joseph Labman, a special edition of The Real, as welcoming into The Real on this cold Wednesday night. It is freezing out all over the country. There was snow down on the beach today in the Panhandle in Florida. So the whole country's frozen right now, but we're going to warm it up tonight and celebrate as we celebrate the Ohio State Buckeyes winning their ninth national championship tonight. Let's get into it. It's gonna be a great show, fun show. We should have some guests up here tonight. We already got one in the back, so let's get to it. So man, where do I start? I'm still celebrating from the other night. Monday night was such a great night. Just to be a Buckeyes fan, but also it was a great night in general for sports, I think. And I'm gonna break that down why I saw a shift the other night in excuse me, make sure my thing done. A shift the other night in the sports media. It was refreshing to see some of the things, but this Ohio State team deserves a lot of the credit. And so let's get into it. Start here. So the Ohio State Buckeyes are the undisputed champions, the undisputed national champions, right? I can remember back when I was, it was in 2014, and was it in 2014? Yeah, 2014. I was a freshman in high school. Last time Ohio State won their national championship. Their last one, I'm trying to think. The first one in my lifetime was in 2002 against Miami. Second one was in 2014. So that was the first one I could remember. So I was trying to think for a second. That was the first one I could remember in my lifetime. And 2002, obviously I was really young, didn't remember that. But looking back to 2014, it was such a special night the other night for myself because back in 2014, when I was a freshman in high school, I was 15 years old. Anybody that knows my story knows that's when a lot of the problems in life with anxiety and panic started to arise. I was a freshman at a new school. And I remember that year vividly. I remember, obviously, all the things I was going through at that time, the change and everything, the emotions, the feelings I was going through at that time, and just the people I was around every day and everything. And I remember being a kid on the bus, riding home from my games and my freshman year from home from our basketball games on the bus and just listening to certain music I listened to. But I remember that run in particular at Ohio State went on. I remember the feeling. It was the first time in my life I ever saw a championship that I can remember in Ohio, and just with my family, my friends, and what it was like. And that's when I finally realized how different Ohio State football was, how different the brand is, how it's a global brand, and how much it means to the state of Ohio. Really, just how much football really means to this state. You know what I mean? And I would just come off winning a national championship with my team in middle school, and we played against older competition and won. And a lot of people say to this day that's the greatest team they ever saw at that age level, just because of how the competition we were going against, the talent we had on our team, what those guys eventually became down the road. And it was a special journey. And so it was funny watching that the other night, thinking back to after the game was over the other night and they're champions, and seeing old footage and pictures of the 2014 team, and full circle 10 years later where my life is now, and just kind of the story of this team. And I could relate to a lot of it. I could relate to a lot of it. It was a pretty cool night for myself personally. And I wanted to share that because I thought a lot of you guys have followed along with me in my story. You've known where it started 10 years ago. And for this team to come full circle the way they did this year and rally, and what the team stood for is why it stood out to me the most. And that's where I want to go next. We could talk about football and the championship, and is this the greatest team ever in Ohio State history? I don't know. Maybe it is. Some people say it is. I know Kurt Barton the other night, Ohio State legend, Buckeye Scoop. Shout out to them. I was listening to their post game. Love their work. A lot of them think it was the greatest. Those two, both him and Nevada, thought it was the greatest one ever. For me personally, I don't know. I have to think about that. But I'll say this: is this the greatest Ohio State team ever? I don't know, but I can tell you one thing: it's probably the most impactful team I've ever seen, maybe in the history of sports. One of the most impactful teams. Why do I say that? Because it started before the season. As you can see there, their shirts. You got Trayvon Henderson, G. Scott there. I believe that's Lathan Ransom. His shirt, Follow Jesus. That may be Lathan Ransom, excuse me, isn't it? But I know Travion and G. Scott are right there. And they have their shirts on that say Jesus won. And this team came out from the jump, beginning of the season, with a message. Hey, man, this is the foundation of our team. This is who we are. We're followers of Christ. We're going to share it publicly. We're not afraid to display it. And it was really led by G. Scott. G. Scott back in, I think it was beginning of this last year, when all the seniors decided to come back, he started to throw out in text like, hey, maybe we should have more like Bible studies and stuff like that. And he's, as time went on, the first month it was getting a little slow, and he started to doubt it because he was texting people like, hey, let's try to get together. There wasn't a lot of movement on the team with it yet, right? And so he was going to give up with it, but something kept telling him, don't quit. God gave you this vision for a reason. And go read the story. He talks about it, I believe, in a podcast. It's really cool. So I'm kind of paraphrasing a little bit, but the story. But he's talking about how he still had that vision and something God put on his heart. Don't give up, G. Like, don't give up that dream. No, keep pushing and keep pushing forward and trying to basically, not like promote this within the team and make it a welcoming thing. And by August, the whole team basically was. I mean, look at them. They're all showing up with shirts. They got the shirts online now. You can buy. I'm going to purchase mine. I didn't buy one yet. I'm going to purchase one. I saw the site today. It's on Jesus1apparel.com. So go get a shirt. Support these guys if you believe in what they're doing. But the whole team gravitated towards it. Ryan Day promotes it behind the scenes, and Ryan Day is a believer as well. From what it sounds like, and he talked about his kids being baptized in the past and all that. And he's talked about how the spirit aspect of this team, how it kept them together, and how they had this spiritual aspect of their team before the season even started. And I think it's really cool because it reminds me of my championship team from 2012, Cuyahoga Falls Varsity Black. We went through a lot of hell that season. We started out the first game of the year against the best team we played that year, Mogador, who had a very good team that year. They absolutely pounded in that game because we were a team with a lot of talent, but we didn't know how to play with each other yet. And we had a lot of things we had to sort out yet on our coaching staff and guys finding the certain roles where we didn't put all the pieces together yet, right? And then the season went on, we started to click. We started to find a rhythm. We started to find an identity. We made some right tweaks to our overall team and still had some adversity in the middle of the season. We had another bad loss where we kind of got gypped in a call in a game. Not going to get to it, but we kind of got screwed over in a game, right? And then in the middle of the season, we had a loss. A colleague of ours passed away. And so the whole city was grieving with that. It was a lot that went on that year. And we get down to the last game of the season in the championship league game, which wasn't our biggest goal. Our biggest goal from the beginning of the year was winning a national championship. And we get down to that game. One of our guys got suspended because due to an incident the week before on the field. That was kind of crappy call, but it happened, and when some guys got injured in the game. And so we went through all this adversity. We get down to the end of the year, and our main goal is still at hand. And I remember we went to before the national championship tournament, we had a 2-week span to kill, or maybe a week it was. I think it was like a week. And so we went down to Columbus for a state regional tournament, and we were finally fully healthy. We had been through all we'd been through that year, and we just went on a run. We beat every team. We never lost a game the rest of that season. A real competitive. All of our games that we had scheduled in the tournament. We scrimmaged a couple of teams that were older than us just for the fun of it, and we almost won some of those games. And we tied one of them, I think, with Bookdale. It was like their almost damn near high school team. So, but we just went on a run. I mean, we were the best team down there. Everybody in the country there was a lot of people in the country at the state tournament, all over from different states, and they were all like, this team's by far the best team. I mean, we were just cruising. Nobody could stop us. We were just firing on all cylinders. We had an identity now, and we had so much fun down there in Columbus too. It was one of the probably the funnest weekend I've ever had playing sports in my lifetime. There was nothing like it. Nothing like playing ball that late in the season when you know you're playing for championships, and just the camaraderie. It's undescribable. It's just like something you just have to be there, and it's a very spiritual thing. And our team that whole year, not everybody in the team was believers, but we had people like myself and others on the team who, they knew what our beliefs were, but the whole team gravitated towards each other. We used to say the Lord's Prayer with each other. We'd all get down on one knee and hold hands before every game, and it became a part. It's what held us together that whole season, and all the way to the end of the season, it was like it was a part of us. We had a spiritual component that you could feel on the team. We were unstoppable, and we ended up going to the national tournament, beat a team from Maryland, beat another team, and we went and played Mogador for the national championship up in Mentor, and we won pretty handedly. And we accomplished our goal, and it was one of the best night ever. And I'll never forget that feeling. And one day I'm gonna do a show with some of my old team. I'm gonna get them up here. We're planning it slowly behind the scenes. We're gonna have like a whole thing. We'll tell the whole story of that team. You guys good to meet some of my old teammates, guys who are great guys. Some people you may know, so that'd be pretty cool. But watching this team reminded me of my team, and I remember 6 weeks ago where this team was. Everybody said their coach should be fired. He's terrible. Get him out of town. I'll be honest, I was one of them that night when we lost to Michigan. I was pretty emotional. I really questioned if Ryan Day could get the job done. And I think that was a valid criticism at that time, because at that point he had kept falling short. 2019, you had a great team. I think one of the best teams I saw in Ohio State history. Fell short in the Clemson game, down but to one play, right? Next year in 2020, you avenge your loss against Clemson. I don't really hold the Alabama game against them. You had a great Devontae Smith, who was the Heisman that they were one of the greatest college players ever, and you had the COVID stuff going on. You didn't have a full season. So 2020, I gave him a pass on that. I thought he avenged the loss against Clemson. That was good enough for me. But then you move ahead to 2022, just short again. You miss a field goal. You lose to Michigan that year as well. In 2023, you lose to Michigan again. Then you lose to Missouri in the Cotton Bowl, in a meaningless Cotton Bowl game. You still lose that to Missouri. And then this year, the Oregon lost later in the season, only by one, not a big deal. But then you lose to Michigan at home on a Michigan down year, when a game that you lost basically by coaching. And so, 6 weeks ago was a totally different tune with this team. But I think what held them together was these guys, what they had in the foundation from the beginning of the season with these gentlemen right here and the whole team. Yeah, there's many more than just these guys. It's an incredible story. And I think it's one of the most impactful teams in the history of sports, because what I saw on TV the other night after that game was something I didn't think I'd see at ESPN ever again. From Reese Davis, even Scott Van Pelt, and some of these guys, but in particular Reese Davis. And you listen to Ohio State after the game, after the buzzer went off, they win, they're out there celebrating. He's up there at the podium celebrating with these guys. And to hear them all, Will Howard first, saying, I want to first thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Then you hear Travis Henderson on the mic in other interviews. There was a sense of just a different feeling in that stadium, you could tell, when they won. And guys like Reese Davis, people who covered the team closely, Kirk Herbstreit obviously was in tears after the game. A lot of that because his son's on the team, and his son, a lot of people know, his son, Zach Herbstreit, was on the roster. I think it was about 2 years ago, a year ago, and had to medically retire due to a heart ailment. And so, but Ryan Day let him stay on the team, be a part of the team, wear the jersey. It was a great story. And obviously, Herbstreit lost his dog this year. He's known for bringing his dogs on the sets, travels with him everywhere. He lost his one dog bed. His wife got diagnosed with breast cancer this year. So Kirk Herbstreit's had a very, very tough going recently. And that's why I think that's why he even said on McAfee the next day, why he was so emotional after the game. But even guys like him, he knows what that team went through, what they are internally. And Herbstreit's a believer as well, and actually a pretty good guy behind the scenes. Great guy. And people that really know this team closely know what they went through. But they also know what held them together. And at the end of the day, it wasn't X's and O's. It wasn't, getting in the weight room more. It wasn't, having some rah-rah speech. It was hey man, we know who we are, but we have a foundation we established with this team early in the season, and we could do something so special still. Yeah, we didn't beat Michigan. Yeah, we didn't win the Big Ten, but the main thing's still in front of us, and we could still write this story. It's like what Ryan Day said the whole time, and why I think the team gravitated towards him after that loss. What he kept saying was, "You have a great story you could tell, but it'll only be told if you win." And he's right. Like my team, we weren't a college team or anything on ESPN or anything like that, but we would never tell our story this many years later, 13 years later, had we not won. It wouldn't have meant anything. So they had to win this to tell. It's beyond football. It's bigger than football, and you could see a guy like Reese Davis tonight when he's up there interviewing the guys. Even asked them too on the stage. I haven't heard a guy in a long time. And this climate in this world we lived in for the last years now. We know how many years it's been, just where the world's been, all we've been through, and what's not really promoted on TV anymore, what's not really accepted or it seems uncomfortable. A lot of people at ESPN and places like that are getting really uncomfortable sharing how they really feel. That's why a lot of them have left, like Sage Steele. And so, and that's why you see a lot of more independent media people nowadays, because they can kind of do their own thing and don't have to be constantly up against the grain with their bosses and everything. But that's a whole other thing we'll get into down the road, another shows with certain guests. But to hear Reese Davis up there even ask, and just because it was a special to me. It was a special moment because he knows what it means. That's how impactful this team. I mean, they're doing revivals on campus. They're constantly talking about it. They're constantly proclaiming Jesus, giving him the glory and the praise. It's infectious, and it's much needed in today's society. And I hope these guys have inspired a ton of people, not only older than them, but obviously younger to them. The next guys coming up that carry on the tradition. And, they've inspired me again. I haven't talked a lot about the stuff I initially came on this podcast doing with anxiety and a lot of spiritual stuff in the last recent months, primarily because I had to take a break. I had to step away because I had to really take off in my life and grow and move on. I had to move on from the anxiety identity. And so in order to me to do that, I have to kind of focus on things that I like to do, and which is covering sports, which is fun. And I am going to get back to that as the season's winding down here in football. Obviously, we got the championship weekend coming up, and then we got the Super Bowl. And then that's it. No, we'll still do draft coverage and all that, but I am going to get back to that in a different way. I think you guys will like. And so, but I had to step away from all that and move on because I had to. I had to not keep in that identity. You know what I mean? Where, the coming on the podcast talking about anxiety the first couple of years was great, but and it helped a lot of people, and I'm glad it did. And I've met some people recently that told me how it helped them, but I didn't want to do that forever. I didn't want to. That's not my identity. And so, but stepping away from that this year and taking off of my life more than I ever have. It's the best I've been in my life in 10 years. But seeing these guys all year, and especially towards the end of the season, it's re-inspired me for myself to, I can't wait to get back up here and do more of that kind of work again, and do lots of it, and even not just up here, but privately as well in my private life, ways I want to go help people, and ways I can give back, because these guys help inspire me. And so here's a clip from Reese Davis the other night, and I'll end with this, my opening monologue. And I think this really just caps why I think this is one of the most impactful teams ever that I've seen. We may never see a team like this again. I hope we do. I hope other teams carry this trend, especially in college sports, because it starts with that college age group. If those guys can really start a change, it can light a fire around the whole world. I mean, that college campuses are where a lot of things happen, where a lot of change happens in people's lives, where you become a man, where you become an adult or a woman. And it's great to see what these guys are doing. It's very refreshing. But here's Reese Davis the other night on the set after the game with Scott Van Pelt, sharing, going on about the spiritual aspect of the team. And I thought this was incredible to see this on, especially on ESPN the other night, on a mainstream media site. So here's Reese Davis.
Guys, so it's so's Will Howard, so's that Ohio State team. I was glad you asked about that because they talked so much about that and how much they leaned into faith. But then ultimately, because I had a coach who used to say the other team prays too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It comes down to being able to do it on the field. And I think that's what impressed me most about Ohio State is they had a bunch of guys who could have left, right? The portal allows you to stay. and they're going to be well rewarded. They're going to be drafted high. But it seems that both faith in above and faith in one another is what got Ohio State through. I should talk to them. What did they share?
That was something Emeka Buka and I talked about this when I went to visit with Ryan Day and several players before the Tennessee game, a few days before that. And, look, we hear a lot of times people talk about their faith and people sort of dismiss it. These guys were sharing their faith and reaching out and baptizing guys on campus, not just football teammates. And it became something powerful to them, not because they thought it was going to be handed to them to win a game, but it changed their relationships and it changed selfishness and made it go away. It was impactful for them. Didn't mean they were going to guarantee they were going to win. And Notre Dame had a lot of that going on as well. Marcus talked about that a lot this year, that it made guys selfless. And I think that's the power in it. It's not, some magical thing they're going to go down and hand you the trophy if you do it. It just helps you maybe relate to your teammates differently.
And isn't that interesting now in this era where like there's a ton of money out there. By the way, the players ought to participate in it because they're making billions. You and I have always agreed about that. But in an era where you think, this guy's just going there for money. Both these guys went there, and the portal quarterbacks, okay, they got their dough. But I think that to hear about the relationships that they have with one another and how that is forged, and then how you ultimately see it on the field. I think that's really a wonderful story to kind of offset the idea that everyone just goes somewhere because of money. Because I'll admit, I've been guilty of just saying you only go there for the dough. I think Ohio State, they kind of get it both ways because you get your money, which you earn, but then you get a whole hell of a lot more than that, which lasts far more than the dough.
Awesome to hear. Awesome to hear two guys up there on that type of platform talking like that again. And you got to give credit to these guys at Ohio State. Guys that had courage and just strength and just conviction. And look at the impact they're making. You're hearing people like this on national airways again talk like that again, and not be afraid to talk about it, not try to tiptoe around it, just being straightforward about it. And I think these guys, their impact, I think, could be hopefully a start of something great and something that's much needed, and something that I think more people like Reese Davis and others want to be more comfortable to express on any airway. You know what I mean? And so shout out to Ohio State, shout out to those guys. Go Bucks. I'm proud to be a Buckeye, and most proud of this team for what they did off the field with this year. Absolutely incredible. And I think no matter what fan you are, I think if everybody's got to respect what these guys are doing, because it's incredible. It's beyond football. Winning championships nice. Football is just a game at the end of the day. At the end of the day, though, eventually you can't run the ball no more. You can't throw. You can't catch. You're not be able to tackle somebody forever. It's just a game. Make as much money as you can from it. But what these guys are doing is a lifelong journey and the real championships of life. And so that's my opening take on it. I know I said a lot tonight, but I want to share that with you guys because it really meant a lot to me. And so I'm going to go off camera for a couple minutes because I want to eat my dinner. I'll be honest with you guys. And so I got two guys I'm going to bring up here, Professional Mike in Jersey. And, Professional Mike from the Professional Fan in Jersey, who is a frequent guest on this show. Welcome on in, guys. I'm going to let you guys take the floor. You guys can react to anything I said, or just your overall take on the Buckeyes winning the championship and this team. And take it away, gentlemen.
I thought the championship game and the message that they had was really inspirational and really cool, that the whole team was able to rally around their identity in Christ and Christianity for motivation. I think what you said about it being the most talented overall team, I would have to agree, because my show is mainly draft analysis, and I do a lot of that. And the more I look at this Ohio State team, the more I see, probably 10 and 12 guys are going to be drafted off of this Ohio State team between rounds 1 and 3. So I think that's crazy, but also well-deserved for a lot of those guys. When you have two running backs that could go in the second and third round respectively, it's a pretty big spiel, as it were. But yeah, I think overall, most talented team. They had the hardest road to get there. Had to go through Oregon again, had to go through Texas, had to go through Notre Dame. But yeah, good for them, good for Ohio State, good for Ohio State fans. And now that the college football season is over, I am rolling in draft analysis. So hyped for it. But yeah, Jersey, what do you think?
I know you're excited about that draft, but go ahead, Jersey.
Hey, hang on.
Hanging on.
Hold on.
Okay, I'll mute Jersey for a second.
My
but,
cat agrees.
No, like what I was saying too, or like to me, it's the most impactful team I've seen. In terms of talent, though, real quick, Mike, we're gonna get into some Will Howard stuff here in a little bit. Let's see, Jersey, you ready now?
Yeah.
Jersey, your take on Ohio State winning the championship and my opening monologue.
Well, it was certainly. I'm in agreement with Ryan Day. Probably the greatest run in history. Certainly, what I've seen. When you talk about the teams that they went through, they was certainly stacked up against them. And then even in the season, to some of the teams that they beat. But then get into that playoff and just absolutely dominate. They just didn't barely win games, and they could have hung 60, 70 points on Notre Dame if they wanted to. But to just absolutely just go in and, I mean, just no one belonged on a field with them, and so it was great to see. I like I said, I've said it a handful of times. I felt like if they got their crap together and they responded in that Tennessee game, that's all they needed to do. I knew once if they won that Tennessee game, they were going to win a national title. And because it was, they were down in the dumps. It was really bad after that Michigan game. And they were either going to come out and get smoked by Tennessee at home, or they were going to come out and win. And that's all they needed to do. But more importantly is the, what drove them, what propelled them to that. And it starts with, those leaders, those upperclassmen that, did something more important than football early in the season. And on campus, where it in a lot of cases with some people, that's not really popular. And not just to talk about it, like Reese Davis said, I mean, they're literally out there baptizing people. They're showing people, how to receive salvation. I mean, and so and it wasn't just like he said, it wasn't just football players. It was anybody and anyone who wants to, who wanted to participate or wanted to know about Christ. So, if you're the rest of the guys on this team, especially underclassmen, and you see that, and you see these guys carry this on throughout their week and practice, and the other thing is, these guys are going to the NFL, right? Well, and they were highly recruited, but what they were speaking of was available to anybody. And so that's the key is it didn't matter if you were, third string or you're never going to play it down on the field, but you are part, you know what I mean? The message was available to everyone. What was more important was available to anyone. And it's like Reese Davis said, that the other thing is the selflessness. So I know how I am. If I have a leader that I believe is selfless, I'll follow them in anything, in a fire. If I have one that's not selfless, I got a hard time getting behind them. I think I'm just like anybody else. I think just naturally we do that. So, those upperclassmen to come back another year, they got paid, but still though, these guys see this, these guys came back, they said what they were coming back for, and then, like I said, to do that on campus, what they were doing, and, they set great testimony, and hopefully there was a lot of people on campus, or a lot of guys on that team that came to know Christ as their Lord and Savior. And then, it's going to spread, because I believe this, we are in the very beginning of of a great awakening and the last revival. And I said this the other night, you know, sports is the most influential thing in our culture, and football is the most influential component in sports. And you see this happening, and college campuses, you know, it can go either way on a college campus. There's a lot of indoctrination that goes the other way on college campuses. People literally can graduate high school and have one belief, and then they leave college, they have another belief. And it's just really refreshing to see it's going the opposite way. And it's gonna go worldwide. It is going worldwide, and that's just it really is. You know, one day there'll be a movie about this. There'll be a book about it. I'd love to hear some more of the in detail story stuff behind the scenes that were going on with the team. I'm sure there's so many other things that went on with the team that weren't even about football. You know, it's just awesome. This is just what sports is supposed to be. This is what a team is supposed to be. It's just amazing. Because in here, the basis of Christianity is love, and in love, it's selflessness. You know, it's just an amazing thing, and so you really saw it just manifest itself in that team, and gosh, look at the abundance that God delivered. So it was absolutely phenomenal. Put them on a platform. It's crazy how it's so great how God works. He put them on that platform, and they weren't doing it here. These guys, I'm sure they're doing it wholeheartedly, but God puts them on that platform, and they're getting that message out. So just awesome to see. You got kids seeing it. You got young adults seeing it. You got older here. You got middle-aged people like me that are inspired by it. So it's catching fire worldwide.
Well said. Number one, that was very well said, and agree with all that. But I want to shift this now to this conversation towards back to the football side of it a little bit. And you can answer this first, Jersey, because you know kind of where I'm going with this. You know, after the Tennessee game, I came up here. Well, first you said if they win the Tennessee game in a convincing fashion, that you thought they'd win the whole thing, and that turned out to be true. And they even believed that internally as well. Ryan Day said that on his interview with Reese Davis yesterday before they flew home. He said we thought if we could catch lightning in a bottle after the Tennessee game, then we could really go on a run and get some momentum and get some confidence back because they know who they really are and what they could be. Excuse me, what they could be, and that's why I was so frustrated when they lost to the Michigan game because I was kind of like it wasn't really about that they lost or who they lost to. I was more mad at the just kind of what the coaches had them at that time, and because I was like, hey man, you guys should be one of the most greatest teams. You should go down as one of the greatest teams ever with this roster. Like we paid all the money you paid for the roster, but also just the guys you have on this team. They all came back. The seniors, what they stand for. This is unacceptable. Like you should want more for yourself. You know what I mean? That Michigan game looked like they were just kind of like it was kind of like 50-50. We didn't see the same drive. Now there's conspiracies whether they threw that game so they can take the bye week for the in the Big Ten championship game, which that might be the model to go actually down the road. Let's be honest, because I think that kind of helped them a lot, not having that week off. But I think whatever happened in those meetings, and there's been some reports about that, which I shared on this show in those weeks around that time. But some of the team meetings they had, and some of those team meetings were pretty intense. And but I think because these guys all know each other, they all love each other. And the bond they have, it really helped them. And it reminded me when they came out in that Tennessee game. It reminded me when in 14 when we beat Wisconsin, and just how we just mollywopped Wisconsin that game, 59-0, and you were just like, this team's going to go on a run, and they did. And that's exactly what this team did. And I said back then, if we beat Tennessee, I said this reminds me of 2014, that run we went on, just the momentum, just the confidence, and all that. But Jersey, I'm going to throw this back to you because our team in 2012 very similar as well, where you go through so much adversity, but at the end of the year, you just catch lightning in the bottle. You just have something special brewing that nobody could stop.
Yeah. No, I've said this to many people, and you know this. There hasn't been one day that's went by since 2012. I don't think about that team. That team changed my life. It changed my career. It changed me professionally. It really taught me what coaching's about. Management is coaching. It really taught me, and to see, it was never about us coaches. The coaches actually had to get their crap together at the end too. But the kids, you guys inspired us. We were all part of it. We heard all the horrific name calling, the whole town, most of the town rooting against you because you had African American kids from North Akron. You have a kid pass away suddenly, horribly, tragically. A lot of different egos on the team, big time athletes, trying to get ball distribution around, trying to share it. Different parents pumping selfish shit into their kids' heads, and it was a really tough, emotional season. A lot of crap we had to deal with. The kids had to deal with first and foremost. But man, it was that. I think it really started when we did that scrimmage against the 12 and 13-year-old Bookville team on that Saturday. I set that game up with one of my coworkers that ran their program. They had no team to play, and they thought they were going to come into our field. And
well, we were on a bye week too. Remind you, we didn't take a bye week though.
Yeah, we were done. We had already played our championship. We were done, and so I think we were done.
No, it was in the middle of the season. We were on a bye.
Oh, were we? Okay. Yeah. So we needed someone to play, and they needed someone to play.
When put in context too, we had beaten all the teams in our league pretty handedly, so we wanted more reps because we knew we needed them for later on in the season too.
Yeah, yeah, we couldn't have a down week.
Yeah.
And so I think that game, because they came on the field on that Saturday and they did jumping jacks. They got in a circle to jumping jacks in the center of our field, and they thought they were just going to come over from West Akron, and they were going to come over. And I remember they started laughing when I said, "Hey, you want to play us?" They got their heads knocked off. I mean, you guys absolutely just destroyed them. I mean, and they were in just absolute disbelief. And so I think that's where really
I saw. By the way, I got to shout out Control Drag, probably the scariest hitter of all time, and I've ever seen. He laid one of the biggest hits. I was the center, and we ran this play we used to run, where Cottrell would basically run like a fake slant, and he'd come back inside, and we'd have a crosser on the opposite side of the field, and Cottrell would keep running though sometimes and take out whoever's in the middle of that field to open up the lane for the guy to catch it and go, basically like a pick play. And I saw a hit right in front of me because I'm the center. So they didn't send a guard over. I remember there wasn't a nose over me that play, so they kind of ran more of a odd or even front, and so I had nobody over me. And so when I hike the ball, I check, and I look, and I see this middle linebacker. We throw the ball. It was a boom play, and I just see this guy standing there, and then I see Cottrell coming, and I didn't see him anymore. He was completely flattened on the ground. It was one of the greatest crack block hits I've ever seen in my life.
It was right in front of me.
My eyes.
It was right in front of me on the sideline. And that kid that linebacker had to be, if you recall, he had to be 6'1", 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah, he jumped into him.
Yeah, he jumped into him and just laid his ass out, knocked him out. I mean, it was just it was just awesome. I mean, the kid wasn't hurt, thank gosh. He got back up, but I mean, it was just that shit fired me up. And
It was a
so,
football play. Yeah.
yeah, it was a football play. It was a crack block. So
I mean, that's how they played too. They respected it. So
they loved it. Yeah.
yeah.
They just got beat up though. And so, and then getting down to Columbus. Columbus is where it really, you guys were playing state champions from Indiana. You were playing high school teams. You played Warrensville Heights. You played a high school team in Warrensville Heights. You played Bookdale's high school. I mean, there's kids driving. You guys were playing just kids you shouldn't even been playing, and you were whooping that.
We played the kid from Warrensville Heights, who was one of the top players one of the top receivers in the country, I think it was at that time. But I remember that kid. He was pretty.
Yeah.
Everybody knew him there. Everybody was talking about this kid. Our best player was Keandre Hood. Probably, if you ask anybody in Akron, before he had his injury, I believe his 8th grade year, he was the best player in the country, probably middle school. I don't think there was anybody better than him on our team. And he went out there against this kid. This is a 7th grader, and he played corner, and he was a two-way player, quarterback and corner. He could play running back, players. He could play anywhere. He was just that good. He was like Travis Hunter with an arm. And I remember we put him out there, and this kid, and everybody's like, "Oh, you guys are gonna have a hard time with this kid." I saw Keandre lock this kid down. I don't think he caught a pass that game.
No,
he didn't catch a pass. There was a play where he scaled. It looked like 10 feet high in the air, and grabbed this ball and just swatted it away from this guy. This guy was a big dude. He's about 6'2", 6'3" receiver. Mike, he was a big dude in high school. And our guy was probably at that time, he was just such a freak though. He was that talented. Mm-hmm. And he was on the way he would have been Mr. Ohio. He was that good. And greatest player I ever played against him with. And he shut this guy down. The guy didn't catch a pass. And after that game, it was kind of like a level of respect we had from all over. It was like, okay, these guys are for real. Like,
you guys were
scary. They were the scariest team.
Everyone was sticking around to watch you guys.
Yeah.
So it was. But it
we had more people at our games than the local high school.
Yeah. Well, but here, you won nationals, but anyone. I mean, but here, I've talked to so many of those kids. Obviously we follow them. So many of them I talked to since, and they say the same thing. They think about that team every day. They've written papers about that team. It changed their life. And so there was something, it was more than just football, obviously. I mean, it was just brotherhood. It was different kids from different backgrounds. None of it mattered. And just an amazing group of kids that a lot of people look down on, but they were all great kids, wonderful kids, and they played football the right way and practiced hard, had fun, just did it the right way, and really inspired the coaches. And it was tired. I mean, that was a long season. We played all the way in the beginning of December, I think. No, end of November. But in a way, you wanted to end, but you didn't want it to end. And you just, it was one of those things you didn't even know how special it was while it was going on. You didn't
realize it until it was over.
Yeah, you knew you caught fire. But, I'm sitting here looking at the photo right now as I'm talking. It's amazing. One of these days, there's going to be a movie made about this team. I've thought about that. I'm going to find some writer or some producer and tell the story. And because it's just an awesome story. And, gosh darn, you got young kids changing adults' lives. And every coach will say the same thing. When I ran into the coaches, they all say the same thing. Just amazing. So.
Yeah, and I think, too, it's why this Ohio State team reminded me of that. Just why I think this team was so special is because when you get in a groove like that late in the year, it's like we had a confidence, too. It was just like we didn't care who we were playing. We're going to go out there and do what we do, win, and probably win by double digits. And that's what this team had. That you could see that confidence, that aura when they were out there, especially in that Oregon game. That first half against Oregon is probably the best Ohio State football I've ever seen. I mean, it was just dominance. Awesome. It was unbelievable. It was awesome. I mean, it was just a team that was riding such a high wave, and just you couldn't beat them. They were like invincible. And so Yeah, that was pretty cool. Sorry, Mike. I mean, keep you waiting there. I'd expected
You're
a
fine.
little history lesson tonight about that team, but it's all good. But we're gonna have a show about that down the road. You guys will hear all about that. We'll have guys up here from the team, and that'll be really, really, really cool. But back to this though, Mike, because I want to get to you now because this is your specialty. Will Howard. Will Howard, I thought, had a hell of a playoff run. He was a great leader out there, ran the offense well, made some great throws, especially down the field, some really tight window throws, draw some beautiful dimes. I think for the year he threw 73% completion for the whole season, over 4,000 yards, pretty good touchdown interception ratio. I don't know off the top of my head, but I know it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Obviously, people will say he had a lot of great talent around him. Obviously, that helps. But I think for a guy like him, to walk in though as a senior and to win the locker room over like he did, that's not an easy thing to do at Ohio State. And to play the way he did, especially down the stretch, playing his best ball when it mattered most. I think his draft stock has definitely went up, obviously. But when you look at the Browns and the offense they'll be running, I think Will Howard, he's 6'4", about 235, athletic kid. Showed off the arm a little bit in the playoffs. I think with a little more development, that arm could get even stronger, even better in the NFL. I think he'll be just fine. I think he has all the intangibles you want as leadership because he a guy that you could consider that the Browns should look at maybe in pick 33, pick round 3, round 4. What I mean, is he a guy they should look at, consider maybe to run their offense?
You know, if and this was said between a few other draft analyzers as well as me, if the Browns need somebody who they can pick later to start early, I think your best bet is Will Howard. There's still some things admittedly I don't like about Will Howard. He doesn't have the best. He doesn't layer balls well. He kind of brute strengths the ball and he puts a lot of float on it. Now that's fine to do on the collegiate level when you have Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka and Carnell Tate, and, you know, but when you're in the NFL against better corners all the time, and you might not have access to the artillery that the Ohio State Buckeyes had this year, comparably to other teams. There's still some things I don't like about that. Now, as far as just football smarts, could he run the offense, especially like a West Coast Kubiak style? I really think he could. My comp for him, believe it or not, is like Tyrod Taylor. I think Tyrod Taylor actually is a very close guy that can use his legs, but won't all the time, is a good pocket passer, just a super smart football player. And that started well early and had himself, you know, a really good career. Like, you could do a lot worse than Tyrod Taylor. So, I mean, if his draft stock did raise at all, he probably raised it from like a 5th round to a early 4, late 3rd round selection. You know, if the Browns want to take him at 93, I won't be upset. But if they think he'll be there at 102, pick him at 102. But as far as like 2nd round grade, I don't think I'm there yet with him. We'll see more at the combine. He is a senior. I don't know if he is going to the Senior Bowl or not. I know it's kind of short notice for him if he does.
Yeah.
But I hope he does, because I think him going up against, like, you know, Sean Revell, Dalen Everett, you know, you have a team full of those corners. You have safeties like Malachi Starks, Makuba, all those guys. Might even see some Buckeyes going against him. I'd like to see that, especially with the sheer number of Browns coaches that are going to be at the Senior Bowl. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Bubba Ventrone is going to be one of the head coaches at Senior Bowl. And our defensive line coach, Jacques
Caesar.
Huh?
Is it Jacques Caesar is his name, I believe?
Yes, yeah, Jacques Caesar. Our defensive line coach is actually going to be the defensive coordinator at the Senior Bowl, one of the defensive coordinators. So we have, you know, our assistant head coach and special teams coordinator as a head coach, you know, and he's former player himself. He's going to have a good eye for it. So with so much, the fact that the Browns really care about the Senior Bowl, we've made at least 2 selections from each Senior Bowl every year. and the fact that we're going to have like a lot of like people there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I think
you know,
it's great. It's it gives it a little more insight. You get to spend a week around and get to know.
yeah,
them more.
I hope he does because we keep hearing, oh, the Browns need to take a quarterback at 2. The Browns need to take a quarterback at 2. Let me just go off on a brief tangent, if this is okay with you. May I go off on a brief tangent?
Here, I'll give you the full floor. Take it away.
All right, folks. Here's the thing. The Browns do need a quarterback. That does not mean we have to take him at 2. This whole weird, oh, what if we miss out? What if we miss out? That's not based in reality. Is there a chance that we miss out? Sure. But as far as quarterback draft class, this is weak. This is a weak class. This is like 2022 all over again. Maybe it's a tad better than 2022, but I mean, was Kenny Pickett worth it? Was Trey Lance worth it? Was Zach Wilson worth it? Was Mitch Trubisky worth it? How about some Browns picks? Ourselves, Johnny Manziel, Brandon Weeden, were those guys worth it? We needed a quarterback, so we picked one. Mac Jones, was he worth it for the Pats? It set back, 3 years before they started looking for a quarterback again? We can't just pick a quarterback because we need one. Now, I will say a caveat. If the Browns sink their teeth into Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders and Jalen Milroe and are like, that's our guy, we need, because they have pro days, they have exclusive interviews. If any of them go to the East-West Shrine Bowl or Senior Bowl, what have you, they'll be coaching them a week before the actual bowl game. Sure, take them. If at the end of the day, if they're like, Shedeur Sanders is the guy, yeah, take him. But we do not need to take a quarterback. We need one, but we don't need to take one. There are other things we can do. If we're sitting here being like, well, Shedeur Sanders could be Geno Smith. Okay, cool. So is Geno Smith. Pick one at 67 to the Seahawks and just get Geno Smith. Like, oh, you're muted.
Did you see Will Howard was taking a picture with after the game? Geno Smith.
Oh yeah, it was Geno.
And I was like, maybe is that the future? Is that the future Browns quarterback for him? I wouldn't mind that.
It. I think Geno Smith. Kevin Stefanski loves Geno. Loves Geno. I don't know where they have a relationship from, but like they've.
I didn't know Geno Smith was an Ohio State fan.
Yeah, and then Will Howard is a smart kind of like, I'll do what you say, coach kind of thing. For quarterbacks, I've said I've been preaching Jalen Milroe to the Browns for a while now, and I think I still am. I think that's what the Browns are going to end up doing. I don't know. It's not going to be at 2. I'll tell you.
Yeah, not at 2 like we've seen today.
No, it's not going to be at 2. There is that dumb mock draft. The Browns are not picking Jalen Milroe at 2. Jalen Milroe will be there. Like
Who the hell put that out?
Huh? The 33rd team, was it?
It was some national mock draft person.
I think it was the 33rd.
He explained how the Browns should take him at number 2, and everybody in Cleveland today was like, "Hell no."
Oh gosh,
makes no sense. And I am at least happy to say that I think we have a regime that is smart enough not to do that. The most realistic mock draft thing, and this kind of even hurts because I would prefer Abdul Carter at 2, but there is a recent report that came out that a lot of guys in insiders believe that the Browns would love Travis Hunter and think that Travis Hunter would have a Jim Brown-esque career in Cleveland. And
not to cut you up, but Mel Kiper in his latest mock, and Mel Kiper, a lot of people don't know, Mel Kiper's not a reporter, but he's pretty plugged into every franchise. He knows what's going on.
Mel Kiper does say some dumb shit though sometimes.
He knows. Mel Kiper knows what's going on with the feeling as a lot of these organizations. His latest mock is Travis Hunter too.
Yeah,
so,
I've maintained my position that it's Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, or Mason Graham. I would be fine.
Yeah, I like all 3. Those are the top.
2.
I think those are the top 3 guys. Period. In the draft.
Because if Travis Hunter's gone, there's an argument to be made between Abdul Carter and Mason Graham. Because Mason Graham might end up being the better of the 2 players.
He could be the next Cam Hayward for your franchise.
Huh? Oh yeah, I mean,
he's that good. But I want to shift the Jersey.
I want to real quick. I want to shout out this tweet I saw. It said that Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett on the same defensive line is the kind of greed they talked about in the Bible. And I thought that was so funny.
I'm leaning right now.
For the boys.
I think Cam Ward or Shador is going 1 to Tennessee. I think Tennessee is going to take a quarterback. I think it's going to be Shador, personally, and they're going to spend a lot of time with him down at the bowl as well. Their quarterback's capacity game coordinator. Yeah, I think he's going to be a Titan. At 2, Jersey, you watched Cam Ward and Shador the other night for the first time really extensively for a little couple minutes. We watched some tape and highlights on them. I know you weren't impressed with either one. You wouldn't take him at the second overall pick. Do you like the option of a Travis Hunter, who I think I read too the Browns want to use more offensively, which I don't mind. I think he's probably number 1 receiver in this class. And he's number 1 corner in this class too. I think he's just that good. However you want to use him, whoever you use him, he's just a ball. But he's just great. He's that great of a talent to me. Jersey, what do you think of maybe the Will Howard option? Do you take Travis Hunter too, because he's probably going to be there? And what do you think about all this?
Well, you certainly. I take Travis Hunter at 2 for he's undeniably generational. If he wants to come out as a receiver, he's number 1 receiver. He wants to come out as a corner, he's certainly number 1 corner. You can utilize him both ways. If you're predominantly a corner, you run him, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 plays a game on offense.
And he's the most marketable player in this draft too. He's gonna make you some dough.
He is, but if your quarterback, if your objective is to, let's just say you're going to use him 15, 20 plays a game on offense, and your goal is to draft a quarterback in 2 years, it makes you a little more attractive to that quarterback. You got Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
So,
which is something we've never given a young quarterback. Maybe ever. Even back in the 80s.
Right.
We never had a elite like we had Josh Gordon for that 1 year. That was historic. But we've never had like an elite level, like big time mega receiver that can help out our quarterback.
No.
I think it's been kind of the part of the reason why we've had such failure at quarterback too.
It has been. I mean, we've all said that. Like, man, we need a receiver. We need a receiver. I mean, you got a guy like this that's just could arguably be one of the greatest football players in history when he's all done. You know what I mean? If everything goes right. I think that's what they do. I don't think they're not taking a quarterback at 2. I really, truly believe they're going to try to make a run for Arch Manning. And that could make them more attractive in that sense. But I think I wouldn't doubt if you see Shador. Shador is either going to go Titans or, I don't know, is there a possibility that Dallas just trades away Dak? Would the Titans would they trade the number 1 away for Dak and give it to Dallas? Yeah, I don't know. I just don't.
I don't think so. I think the Titans are too far away. Dak's coming off of a second season-ending injury, and he's already 34. I don't think the Titans would be interested in that. I mean, maybe
Micah
I don't even know if they'd
Parsons.
be interested in Micah. I don't even know if they'd be interested in that because the Titans are so far away that they probably just prefer.
I don't know. You know what I mean. I could just see Jerry Jones just spending an arm and a leg, though, doing whatever it takes. You know what I mean? So
it have to be reverse Herschel Walker.
Well, Jerry Jones would do it because if you put Deion Sanders' kid in Dallas, I mean they're even more. I mean, obviously they get all the primetime games anyways, but I mean everyone's wanting to be in Dallas.
Well, and Sanders
when I say
Dallas,
that,
it's
the media,
like LeBron in Cleveland.
It is. Mm-hmm. The apparel. I mean, it is a money making machine. It's not like they need it, but still, that's what Jerry Jones loves. So I wouldn't doubt if you see him try to do that shit. But again, the Browns. I'm with Mike. You don't take a quarterback at 2 just because there's no. I don't think there's a quarterback in this draft worthy of 2 or even 1.
Yeah, and
Travis Hunter's the best.
Something.
You know what I mean? You take Travis Hunter, and I think, okay, later on in the draft, you pick up a quarterback. but then I everything I've read some articles, man, that they really think that they got a shot at getting Arch Manning. So
If they did take a quarterback later in the draft with Will Howard, would you like that option? What do you think of Will Howard or Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers? What do you think?
I wouldn't have a problem with any of them. I wouldn't have a problem with any of them. Here, we watched all that. We watched this video, that footage couple nights ago. Jackson Dart throws. I'd rather have Jackson Dart over Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. And okay. Quinn Ewers had a bad. He had a bad game. Fucking Quinn Ewers is he's still a hell of a talent.
He's got.
I mean, and
he's
throws
got first round talent by far.
Yeah,
he probably has arm wise. Just not stay with me, people. I'm not saying he's arm wise. He's just as talented, if not more talented than anybody in this class.
I think arm wise, he's more talented than anybody. And here's what he does: he throws the receivers open. He puts the ball dead on. He puts that ball dead on where it's supposed to go, and that's the thing I've always noticed about him.
How much do you think, too, the Arch Manning shadow affected him? Probably.
I had to a lot because, my God, you're sitting there playing.
You're never settled. If you're not settled, I don't know how you.
You know you're just warming a seat. You just know you're warming a seat. If you have a bad game, they're going to yank you. You know you have to leave at the end of the year.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's Arch Manning. It's kind of imagine that. Like, you're sitting there and you got some kid that's fucking 2-3 years younger than you that is talented, but it's the last name more than anything. I mean, the kid's not done anything on the field yet, but just because it's last name. And it's kind of unfair to Quinn Ewers, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think he would have been much better off had he stayed at Ohio State. And but because the talent's there, the guy was the number 1 rated fucking quarterback ever out of high school.
Yeah.
So, but you take like a Will Howard, who was 888th, I think I read, the 888th ranked player coming out of high school, and it just shows you when you take when a player, any given player's in the right system with the right coaching, what happens. So, you could take if Quinn Ewers gets with the right coaching staff and the right system, absolutely he can have a great career. If he gets to the wrong one, he's going to have a horrible career.
Yeah.
So I would be fine with any of those 3, but I don't think if they did take one of those 3, I don't think it's their long-term plan. Now, this player does really well, then they say, well, okay, this is who we're running with. But I say, here, you got the number 2 pick. You got to take the surest player, best available player, surest player, and it's Travis Hunter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I heard an argument today, and not just today, but I've heard it a lot from all over the Cleveland Airways, that people saying they have to take a quarterback at 2 because this regime has to win next year. But here's how I think of it. I don't think they're in for the short term. I think they're in for the long run. I think this team is built.
And they can be competitive with just a bridge guy. Like, you can still be a competitive team with a quarterback room of
I don't think they're based on reports we've seen, Mike. You can vet because you read, that Stefanski's gonna have more of a say in this draft than he's ever had.
Yeah.
And so that tells me Stefanski's the safest guy in that building for the long term.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Andrew Berry, I don't know where that stands, but I don't think they're going to get rid of him. I mean, if you didn't fire these guys,
Kevin and Andrew are pretty much tied at the hip.
If you didn't fire, here's my whole thing: if you didn't fire these guys after this season and debacle and the reasons why this turned into a 3-win season, the trade and all that, that's the contract with Watson and all that. If you didn't fire those guys now, why would you fire them down the road? If you didn't fire them at the lowest moment, it tells me that the ownership and Dee Podesta were the ones that pushed that whole thing the most. They screwed it up, and these guys were doing what they were told. And if they didn't go, it's like with the article that was a
Jason Lloyd.
Rizzo wrote 2 years ago on ESPN. Not Rizzo, Grossi. about how if Stefanski and Barry too, if they didn't go along with the plan, they would have got axed. And so,
Right.
what were they supposed to
Broski's
do?
got to stop writing about draft analysis, though.
But
Bro,
that article he wrote 2 years ago was accurate, and it was proven true.
No,
You could
no,
see
yeah.
it. And he was on the money with that. And a Jersey, you agree with that too. And that's why I don't think these guys don't have to take a quarterback, because I don't think they have to win. They don't have to win next year. They just have to be competitive and get it back to where it needs to be. They're given the keys for. It's all about getting it. It's getting the team ready for 2028.
That's exactly what it is. It's for the stadium. They're. I mean, it sucks, but that's the obvious. Is
or
they
maybe
want to have that team.
Just the stadium. I'm not saying by 2028. I think they want to be in a certain position. They want to be at a certain level by 2028. So there's that momentum going into that stadium.
But then it's like, okay, what's does Myles Garrett believe that? I mean, what do you?
According to Myles Garrett, he thinks they're not that far away.
No,
and Denzel said the same too.
Well, here you got to look at it like this. Anything? I mean, you look at Ohio State last year, and you're getting your ass blown out by Missouri. Now, yeah, it's a meaningless bowl game, but still, you're the Ohio State Buckeyes. You lost to Michigan again, and you're getting your ass kicked in by some sorry ass Missouri team. Just out of pride alone.
Look at the Commanders in the NFL. They were a 3-win team last year. Absolute barrel of the NFL.
It just takes. Here, it's all about. Who knows what the hell was going on within the Browns organization? Something else was going on. It just wasn't about how the players were playing on the field. There's something else going on in that organization that was causing that. And hopefully they can eradicate it this offseason and get back to being competitive. And because they still got a boatload of talent on the team. And you can't have any worse quarterback play than you had this year. So, they could still be competitive next year and be, and maybe beyond that. I don't know, but it's it's not. I just believe here. I believe that. I don't think next year is going to be. I have no reason to believe that 100% they're going to be horrible next year. There's just too much talent on the team. And
I hear you eject a guy like Travis Hunter in that room, and I like what they did with Tommy Rees, and what I know about Tommy Rees from people I trust that we know that told us behind the scenes about him, and that know him a little, have good insight on him. And I like the coach he is with a young quarterback, or just with that. I like him in the room in general, and what he's going to do and help. And I like Stefanski. I think Kevin has that's kind of why I backed off of Kevin a lot this year. I know you did too, and Mike, you've always been probably the biggest supporter. But because I started to see, when I started to look into all the like the San Diego Browns video, all the bullshit he's had to put up with, and I can't put it all on him. Yeah, he takes part of the blame. He's the head coach, and he's got to be better in some areas. I think he probably knows that, but you can't blame it all on Stefanski.
Well,
it's a different. It's a bigger problem, like you were alluding to, that hopefully they've eradicated.
Hopefully, here, if the players love him, then I'm with him.
Yeah, and the players went out and backed him up after the season.
Then that's the guy I want, because
they said we need to get back to running his stuff and playing to our identity.
Yeah, run the fucking football. That's something they just went completely away. That's AFC North football. You have to run the football. You got to run the football in football, period. But especially in that division. So get back to running the ball, and just that's run the ball first, then start throwing it. And if you got a guy like Travis Hunter, my gosh, just the pressure he's going to put on defenses. So if you start to build around that guy, it's crazy. Now, even if, again, and that's only if you're running 15, 20, here, you put that guy in the field on offense for 15 to 20 plays, you know what I mean?
Pretty high level 15, 20 plays, I can tell you that.
Yeah, and then he's on the opposite side of the field.
Well, yeah, and defensively, you got Ward on one end, who's covering a whole island. You got this guy with his long. He's got elite range, elite. He has like it's a rare, very rare, just cover skills with his size, his speed, his length, his instincts. You can leave him over there. You can roll coverages, and you got Myles Garrett rushing the passer, and let's say a healthy GOK and roam in the middle of the field. That's a pretty good arsenal to have for Jim Short.
Yeah.
I mean, you're covering from both hash marks with both your corners to the sideline are completely covered.
Well,
What are you gonna
and here, and not to mention, if you could nail some of your other picks too, so here, I'm still excited. I mean, I was bitching at the end of the season, and you know what I mean, but here, look what happened at Ohio State. Look what happened with the Commanders. I mean, crying out loud, the Commanders could win the damn Super Bowl this year. Who would have thought that? You know what I mean? I would have never thought that that Ohio State was going to win a national title. Hell, after the Michigan game, I'm screaming, get rid of Ryan Day. You know what I mean? Get rid of Ryan Day.
I thought I didn't know. I questioned whether they recover from it.
Right.
Again, yeah, and that was it. And so, and and what I said was the dude's got to win a national title. He's got to win a national title. Well, now he's the man. You know, he did it. So,
what's the goal? Do you think? I got to follow up on that real quick. What you just said. What's the goal for Kevin Stefanski next year? What does he have to do, in your opinion, next year, Jersey? What's that goal for him?
For me to, I mean, I would love here. I still think there's enough talent. It depends on what they can do at the QB position. I mean, if they get a serviceable quarterback in there, and you draft Travis Hunter, and you nail some of your other picks, I would. I mean, at least make the playoffs.
Really?
Yeah, at least make the playoffs. I don't think they're that. I don't think they have to be that far away from it. You know what I mean? I mean, a lot can change in an off season, and if they whatever is going on internally, and here, you know what? It may have all been around the Watson thing. It was they didn't want Watson. Front office said take Watson. They double down when they bring in to get rid of Van Pelt.
The
you bring
report
Ken Dorsey.
All that, the forcing the coaching change. But I just want to the report that Jason Lloyd put out, the bombshell recently, was that Andrew Berry scouted Deshaun Watson back for a while, even back when he was in Houston. He liked Deshaun Watson, like a lot of us did when he was playing at a high level. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But there was a point when it got to that negotiation that he backed off. That he said, I don't feel comfortable giving this much up, signing that kind of contract. It sounds like Jimmy Haslam was the one that said, no, get it done. Or,
that's only an owner at that time. Only an owner would say all guaranteed, because that owner has to put that money in escrow at that time.
Yeah. And then you heard what Albert Breer said when they fired Van Pelt. He said, Jimmy Haslam and Paul DePodesta were not satisfied with where Deshaun Watson was at that time. That's why they fired Van Pelt after the season they had.
My favorite part of the article, real quick, was they pitched to Deshaun Kevin Stefanski's wide zone Kubiak style offense and how good he could be in there. And then the trade happens. He finally gets here and he goes, "Oh, I don't want to do that anymore."
Yeah.
That was my favorite. And Kevin's like, "What?"
There's all trust right there.
What do you mean you don't want to do it anymore? We told you this is what you were going to do.
It's just been a bad mix. And here, I don't think anyone should blame Watson either. I mean, if it's bad for the Browns, it's bad for him. He knows it more than anybody. I mean, it's probably. I mean, if you're not 100% comfortable, not everybody in the organization wants you there. You really, your coach wasn't 100% on board. These guys know this shit. You know what I mean? So I don't blame. Haslam's the blame on it, but at the same time, I don't blame him, because had he not did it, we people would have bitched. The guy tried it. It's his money. It's his $230. It's not our money. It's his $230. and I'm not going to bitch.
No,
This
I
dude
never
put
would have
two.
played the
This
Browns for
dude put
making it.
230 guaranteed. He tried it, and he missed.
I think his bigger default might have, and from a football standpoint, might have been how they soured everything with Baker. That probably was where they messed up. But
Well,
yeah,
I mean, they
It's 2020.
again. I don't here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fault the guy. Tried. He misspent his 230 million. Am I a fan of hiring a coach and a GM and then overriding their consultation? No.
no, never.
Then I shouldn't have them there. You know what I mean? If I bring them in, I'm listening to them because they're the football guys. I'm a guy that made all my money running, in gas stations. So
Yeah.
I'm
And it sounds
listening
like
to these.
Jimmy's backing off now. The Deshaun thing probably soured Jimmy's whole
Yeah,
mindset. He was probably like, "All right, I'm done."
but the same. But here, listen though.
You guys do what you want.
But at least he's not the Dolans. You know what I mean? At least the
Yeah, at
dude.
least Jimmy will spend money. I will give Jimmy Haslam for all of his faults. He wants a winner. Has he made stupid decisions in trying to get one? Sure. But I will never say that Jimmy Haslam has not done his utmost to get a winner.
Wouldn't we all rather? I'd rather have somebody that you got to pull the reins back on than some asshole that's just scared and timid. Yeah.
Well, look at Dan Gilbert. He's got the perfect balance. He always spent the money, but then he figured it out as an owner later on in his career. And you see, his tenure as the owner here, and look what he has now.
Well, he's a different scenario because if you look at I think I've read reports on Quicken Loans or Rocket Mortgage. His companies, they say, are some of the greatest companies in the world to work for. It's the culture, and it's all the way down. They're first class. They're, you know what I mean. The people are they're happy. They're productive, and I think that's what sets him apart.
He's given the model though for these guys to follow.
Yeah, hell yeah, my gosh,
follow that model. Watch where you go.
Yeah, and so here it just didn't work out. You know what I mean? It didn't work out, but hey, it wasn't my 230 million. It was Jimmy Haslam's, and he missed. So start over.
I laughed a little bit, Jersey, because I know you'll laugh at this. Our man Teflon Don is back in the house. He said, "Hello to Joe at Jersey. Browns are unfortunately very far away from being good. Tired of them being power cheeks."
Not that far away, Teflon. Not that far away at all.
Well, Teflon, you could be right, but again, look where the Redskins were last year. Look where Ohio State got smoked by Missouri.
Look where the Browns were last year with Joe Flacco, PJ Walker, and DTR.
Yeah. So
it's just a matter of going back to the old offense, revamping the running back room a little bit, adding a premium piece, whether that be Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, or Mason Graham, and just getting that defense back chugging and running the hell out of the ball. I think they'll bring back Nick Chubb. I think they're going to draft a running back relatively high.
Probably 33 or right in that area.
Or 67, just because it's such a very deep class.
Yeah.
33 might not be there because I still think maybe there's a chance. We'll see how the visit goes, but there's a chance that 33 is Jalen Milroe. I'm close, but we'll have to see.
I'm just not a fan of Jalen Milroe. What makes you so hot on him?
So, great question, and great question, Jersey. So, what makes me so high on him is from year one to year two.
I didn't say high. I said hot.
Hot.
Why are you so hot and
bothered? In the background.
Why are you so hot?
All right. So what makes me so hot for Jalen Milroe is, I really hope he doesn't watch this and take it out of context. But
pause.
So
pause.
The jump from year one to year two as a starter in Alabama is night and day. He went from an okay starter to a good college football starter, and it shows remarkable coachability. And does he have a lot to work on? Absolutely. Is he a day one starter in the NFL? Probably not. But he is a world class athlete, and he is so extremely coachable. Everybody says he's a great leader, and everybody in the locker room loves this kid. He had votes for the Heisman the past 2 years, but he won the academic Heisman. He won the academic Heisman.
Did he really?
Incredibly smart player. Yeah. He
comes from a military family background too.
Yeah, his family was military. He took his education serious while being one of the best athletes in college football. And even though he might have not been like the top 3 quarterbacks or top 5 quarterbacks, he is one of the best athletes in college football. And here, if you plug him into a wide zone, West Coast style offense, where it's like here, 1 read, 2 read, if it's not there, run, I think Jalen Milroe could do a lot of that. And Tommy Rees helping with the RPO action. I mean, Jalen Milroe running an RPO with Travis Hunter and like Omarion Hampton or Quinshon Judkins behind him. I mean, that would be a scary offense. I think he's incredibly coachable. I think he's an incredible athlete, and he's so smart that I think this is a guy that there's not a chance that he's going to develop. It's just a matter of when he develops. He's going to develop.
But are we going to see a lot of that RPO action with this if we're going back to the old system, though?
So we are going back to the old system, but Stefanski has been obsessed with RPO and adding that because if you realize Kyle Shanahan runs RPO a lot. Brock Purdy uses his legs a good amount. People forget that in the San Francisco system. We just haven't had a guy that can successfully run that. And a Jalen Milroe, like he could run an RPO because that's essentially West Coast style. You have 3 reads, on an RPO. You got the slant or the tight end bubble screen. If that's not there, it's a handoff or you run. It's all West Coast stuff. Real simple offense with just getting the ball out of your hands or keeping it. And I think Jalen Milroe would be able to run it well. And we'll find out if the Browns are interested relatively quickly because fact of the matter is his old offensive coordinator is now our offensive coordinator. So
what's his completion percentage for the season?
Well, here we go.
Because that's the thing I've always with Jalen Milroe when I've watched Alabama.
Here, I got it right here. So
he doesn't connect on passes.
There's 2 parts of Jalen Milroe. 2023 was when Tommy Rees was the OC. He had 2,834 yards.
Yeah.
65% completion percentage. 23 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Okay. 2024 with Kalen DeBoer's offense, no Tommy Rees, no Nick Saban. He was 2,844 yards, about the same. 64% completion percentage, 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. So he was better with Tommy Rees.
What was his rushing yards? Does it say or include?
Rushing yards with Kalen DeBoer was 726 yards, 4.3 yards carry, 20 touchdowns. Under Tommy Rees, his rushing numbers were 531 yards, 3.3 yards a carry, 12 touchdowns. But he threw more passing touchdowns, which I think is
35 total touchdowns under Tommy Rees with 5 picks. You said
6 picks.
Yeah,
6 picks to 35.
but you gotta be cautious of that because that shit doesn't. You're talking about these RPOs, Mike. That shit don't translate in the NFL. Like, you know what I mean?
You have a good enough athlete, and Miller is one of the best.
You got the absolute best in Baltimore, and he's had to evolve his game by passing, and he still hasn't won. He hasn't won yet. Jalen Miller is Lamar Jackson.
I said Miller is not a day 1 starter. I don't think he is,
he's not the athlete Lamar Jackson is. But Lamar Jackson's had to dial back the running and learn to pass the ball. Now he improved this year, but he still hasn't won anything. So I've just watched pro football a long time. I've never seen a team win a Super Bowl that has a quarterback that runs that heavy. It just doesn't translate. Number one, the quarterback ended up getting killed because the defense is just too big. They're too fast. It just doesn't translate well.
Not a lot of longevity.
Yeah, it just doesn't. It just doesn't happen in pro football. So,
well, that's my problem. When I watch Jalen Milroe's tape, he's a hell of an athlete. He's got a pretty good arm. He's a great world class athlete, like Mike said. Great size, great kid, or seems like a great kid from what I hear. But I just don't see. I see a lot more running than I do throwing, and I just don't. That's not going to translate into this offense. I think in order for this to work next year, if you want to get the most out of a rookie quarterback, or if you want the right fit, you got to get somebody that can throw the ball more, can pass the ball. As a good pass, not to say thrower, as a good passer. You want a quarterback who's an athlete, not an athlete who's a quarterback. There's a difference. But also, I want somebody who can play under center, can drop back, turn his head, and locate coverage, because that's a lot what they're going to be asked to do in the system. And so, what do you have? It's their job to find that and evaluate that in this draft and find the right fit. Milroe is an interesting. I get the connection with Tommy Reese. I don't think I don't want to write him off because I think there is a chance he could be good. I see what Mike's saying when I watch it. He definitely has a lot of raw ability, and I think seems like a coachable guy with the right coaching for maybe a year or whatever it takes. Maybe he can develop into that. I think he could, but I just don't know if I'd take him at 33 or I don't know if he
no
fits.
chance at all.
I just don't think he fits what they're going to be trying to do either.
I'd be open to 33 depending on
because you got to remember with Lamar,
I have like more of a mid-round second round on him, like early third. The only reason I could see them going for Milroe at 33 is just because of the connection, and maybe they think he could develop a little bit quicker. But like I said,
Tommy
before,
Reese,
that's
the one thing they have an advantage on with him is Tommy Reese knows him better than anybody.
Yeah,
Tommy
exactly.
Tommy
we'll
Reese may,
like
Tommy Reese may say, "I don't think he's going to be a good. I don't think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback."
Yeah,
so
and that's very possible.
Yeah.
And he's not a day one starter to me.
No,
like I said, he's going to take development, but as far as an athlete, I don't think there's a better athlete in general coming out of this draft. Just overall, he's a tremendous athlete.
Well, and people got to remember too, Tommy Reese didn't recruit Jalen Milroe. He inherited Jalen Milroe. He was hired to coach Jalen Milroe. If you look at who he recruited when he was there, it was Julian Sane, who was a natural passer of the ball, pure quarterback, pocket passer. You look at what he coached at Notre Dame, and he's the OC there. Pocket passers, guys who could sit in the pocket, throw the ball more, bigger stature. Guys like Sam Hartman, guys like that. That's who he coached. Those types of guys. So, did he coach Sam Hartman? No, he did not. Sam Hartman was there, 2023?
He was there last year.
Yeah, so it wasn't Sam Hartman. It was, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was more of a pocket-style quarterback, at Notre Dame. So, those are the kind of guys he's always brought in and coached when he's been the OC at places. So, I think that could be something to look at. And if that's the case, I'd probably look at more like a Quinn Ewers, Jackson Dart type of situation, Will Howard type of thing. I think that fits more of what
I think Will Howard and Jackson Dart are very interesting prospects. I think Howard is a little bit higher for me than Dart at this point. Dart's a little bit better of an athlete, but they struggle with very similar things. Again, if you're picking a quarterback in the 4th round at that point, though, like take whoever you want. You know what I mean? I mean, Ewers for me is like a 6th round talent at this point. Like, and you could probably get him in the 6th round at this point. His draft stock is. Let me see. I have it saved.
Mike, how could you say Jalen Milroe at the top of the 2nd round, but Quinn Ewers is a 6th round talent?
Because it's true.
What about
Quinn Ewers is currently the 207th?
Tell me how. How do you come up with that?
Well, Jalen Milroe is an all-around better athlete.
Ewers I don't care about an athlete. I need a guy that throws a football.
Okay. Ewers has had better weapons and struggled mightily the second half of the season. He was benched twice, even though he had a team of Isaiah Bond, Gunnar Helm, and Matthew Golden, all who are going to be top 100 picks. He also had Taj Brooks, who's going to be probably a 4th round running back. And even though with all those weapons, with a coach who is well known and does his offense very well, Ewers struggled mightily. he was supposed to be a top 10 pick this year. Ewers himself destroyed his draft stock. Like, I've watched the college tape. I've been charting quarterbacks for my latest episode, and Ewers just doesn't have it. If Ewers will be available late. I would not be surprised, Joe. I'm not being facetious. I wouldn't be surprised if Ewers is a UDFA prospect. I'm not even kidding. Like, that's how bad he was down the stretch. Like, he wasn't just bad. It was his fault that they lost against Ohio State. Like, it's not like guys weren't open. Matthew Golden was constantly open, even though he was playing hurt. Gunnar Helm was constantly open, just wasn't finding the ball to him. He was just making bad reads, standing in the pocket too long, holding the ball too long. And these are issues he struggled with all year. And when you have that many weapons comparatively to Jalen Milroe's best weapon is Jeremy Bernard, who's going to be a 6th-round receiver.
Jalen Milroe had
besides Dylan,
the second best receiver in the country.
Yes,
Ryan
Dylan
Williams.
Ryan Williams.
Ryan Williams. I'm sorry.
He plays at
So it's
Alabama.
those two.
He plays at Alabama. He was there with Nick Saban. I don't. Quinn Ewers, I thought, played pretty well against Arizona State. Won in that game, and then against Ohio State. I mean, who played well against? I mean, I don't think he played terrible against Ohio State, but I mean, the Golden Kid was out most of the game. He only came back in once it got a little closer. But a 6th-round talent, he's a 1st-round arm talent to me. That I think probably in the right situation. Jalen Milroe to me is a much bigger project than Quinn Ewers in the NFL. Jalen Milroe is a project. You got to remember how great Lamar Jackson is. They had to rebuild and revamp their entire offensive personnel, everything around that guy, and that took them a little bit. I mean, I don't see the Browns doing that. And that's why I don't think Milroe.
And here, I'm for draft if they think Howard or Dart is a better prospect in the middle rounds. I mean, take whoever at that point. But Ewers is not even on my board. Like,
it's like here, I got somebody right. I think it was Matt Miller of ESPN said, a quote, Ewers is going to be an interesting name to watch. We know there was some inconsistency there, but the tools that made him the 5-star prep player are certainly still there. So to me, that's the perfect developmental quarterback, if that's what they're looking for this year. But go ahead, Jersey.
Well, that's it. I mean, he has all of that talent. He has the NFL talent. We people forget about coaching and I can't if a guy doesn't have the talent, I can't coach him into an NFL quarterback. If he has the talent, 5-star talent, I can coach this kid into being a fucking Hall of Famer, hopefully.
And then,
you know what I mean? So,
and when it comes to Ewers, though, he had a good coach. He had great weapons.
Who says Sarkisian's a good coach?
Sark's a good coach.
Oh, yeah, but who says he's a great coach? I mean, what would happen if Quinn Ewers would have stayed with Ryan Day?
Well, I think he'd been better, especially with Chip Kelly. Here, it's not like Quinn Ewers had a bad year, like a terrible year. They made the playoff. His team was almost in the national championship. Jalen Milroe at Alabama, it's the first year Alabama in a 12-team expanded playoff, didn't even make the playoff.
But here's the other thing, what we just talked about earlier, though. The guy knew he was keeping a seat warm, probably unfairly.
Fans are chanting for it.
Yeah, what has Arch Manning done to be being called into a game in front of Quinn Ewers? It's just because if his last name was Latman, no one would have gave a shit about him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just because his last name is Manning at this point. So, and then you're leaving. You have no future at Texas, even if you want to stay. That's a tough thing. You know what I mean? So, I think that kind of jacks your head up a little bit, but I just, Mike, you threw me off on that. You just said you're talking about Jalen Milroe's at the beginning of the second round, which I disagree with. And then you say Quinn Ewers is a 6th-rounder?
I mean, I'm not the only one that says that. It's very much his draft stock at the moment is around 207 to 215. and then some people have him on their boards as a UDFA prospect. It's not just me.
It's mind-boggling that anybody I would have just because he had one or two bad games.
It's not one or two. It's the tape don't lie, and he hasn't played well for a while. And
I watched a lot of. I watched quite a few
lukewarm.
Texas games this year. He looked
There
pretty
are
damn
people who are
good.
saying Kyle McCord is a better prospect than Quinn Ewers. There are people that Dylan Gabriel's above Quinn Ewers. And Dylan Gabriel, even though I like
Dylan
his,
Gabriel is never going to play in the NFL. He's too fucking short. Dylan
exactly.
Gabriel,
Hand size is
Mike,
probably
just because these guys are all pundits. I bet you a lot of these guys never even played football in their life. These guys that sit there and make these evaluations, I bet you most of them never even played football. But just because they said it, it's the gospel. You know what I mean? So I'm
it's
just saying.
one resource I use.
I know that.
Yeah, I'm at Travis Hunter at 2. We just talked about that.
Oh yeah, here I'll get somebody. Joey's in the house. Howard's more NFL ready than Milrow. I
would
agree with that. On another topic, Garland saw game tonight. Yeah, I saw they lost by one of the Rockets though. Damn it! Wouldn't be surprised if Howard goes in the third round. Will Howard seems like a Kevin guy. Yeah, I agree. That's why I brought him up. Shout out to you, Parent John. Good to see it here. Travis Hunter at 2. Then we all said that earlier. We all agree with that. Yeah, that's where I would.
Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. I'd be happy with either of them.
We'll all be screaming in that garage if it's Hunter at 2.
Yeah,
I'll be screaming if it's Abdul Carter at 2.
Yeah. Travis Hunter at 2. I will get a jersey.
I'll get an Abdul Carter jersey.
I like Travis Hunter.
I don't know.
I like
everybody's going to buy that number 11 jersey, and the Browns are going to be like, you can't have that here.
I'll tell you.
You can wear number 90 or 99. Your choice.
Go ahead, Jersey.
Here, Will Howard, he really did come along. I mean, he's got all the weapons, but you still got to deliver the ball.
And on time.
On time, and some of these throws were like, I'm like, holy, they had my heart beating. Like, that some bitch could have been intercepted. You know what I mean? It's like he laced some of these passes in there. So, it just again that just shows you this guy was almost a 900th ranked player coming out of high school. But when you get him in the right system with the right coaching, and the confidence is there. That's what it's all about, confidence, especially with a quarterback. Confidence. And so, I can't say enough about that, but he really did come on, and, I don't know, man. And he's a competitor. He's a competitor.
I saw this picture the other night from Geno Smith, and it was him and Will Howard after the game. And I'm like, that could be our quarterback room next year. And you know what? I actually would like it. I think it's a good compliment because you can sit and develop Will Howard. He can learn from Geno Smith, a veteran, a pro who's been here in the league a long time.
What was Will Howard, a fifth-year senior?
Yeah, he's probably the most like Bo Nix, where he's played a shit ton of games in college.
Yeah, so he's played a lot of games. This dude had the balls to transfer to Ohio State, and
what he said after the season, he said, not to cut up, but he said, I wish I was here a year. I wish I had more time here. Basically, I wish I had more time with this coaching, is what he said.
Gentlemen.
Yeah, man, if you get him in the right spot for the right amount of money, I mean, why not? I mean, what tells you not to? You know what I mean? Obviously, like, would you say third round or beyond?
Yeah, for Howard.
Yeah.
I feel we have pick 93. I wouldn't mind him at 93 at that point, or not 102 if you think he'll be there.
Then you just wonder if some other team that would take him sooner than that.
Probably not.
Oh, that's why Geno Smith's related to Jeremiah Smith. That's why he was at the game. So,
and also, gentlemen, my laptop is about to die, so I have to.
You bastard!
Sign up, dude. I have it plugged in. I don't know why it's dying.
You look like you're 15 years old when you get your haircut.
Huh?
Said you look like you're 15 years old when you get your haircut.
That's because you can't see all the gray.
Well, who cares, dude?
You got grays?
I got a bunch, dude. I can't let
my
beard to a certain
gray hair just means you handle your biz.
God's
It's
reminder.
like this. It's like the Silverbacks, man. They're the leaders. You know what I mean? People
said-
see when people see gray hair or white hair, like they see that as like that must be the man. You know what I mean?
The man. I don't mind that. I don't mind being that.
We'll finish it right here. I mean, Travis doesn't have any red flags on the field. I would want that guy. Only red flag is his girl.
Right.
Joey DiBiase. Next, Joey DiBiase. Steelers love drafting Buckeyes.
That they do.
But well, Michael, let you get out of here. What can we expect on the next episode of Professional Fan?
We're going over defensive ends, and generally I do top 5. I have to do like top 10 because there's so many defensive ends in this draft. But yeah, we're going deep into the defensive ends. There's like 10 edge rushers that are insane. And then there are probably like 10 more that'll be good starters. It's nuts.
I can't wait to see it. So stay tuned for that. That'll be probably this week sometime. No, tomorrow night we'll have to fix, I think. So Mike will be on a couple day after that or Saturday or something. We'll figure it out. But stay tuned for that, and you'll see Mike back on the reel. Probably, I think we'll do something for the championship game Sunday, maybe in person Sunday. So I will call you after the show, Mike.
Mike, get that that thing I texted you about today. Get that done so I can get you set up next week.
Yeah, my last day at the current position is, like I said, the 25th, so I'm free completely after that.
Get that shit done.
It'll be done.
Oh.
Later.
I'll call you. Yeah. But shout out to Mike. Where's the shout out to Mike.
Mike hangs in, goes through the gauntlet. He hangs in there, goes through the gauntlet, starts to get.
I thought he was going to go through something else tonight, but he didn't show up. So, but I don't know. Maybe down the road. Well, that dam was coming on too. But you know, a little. If you don't know Mike's show, there's a little preview of it. I just like watching that. That's a great video. But yeah, I mean, I know Mike's a little lower on Quinn Ewers than probably you, Rod. I think a guy like Quinn Ewers or Will Howard is probably the guy to be aiming for in this draft. Travis Hunter to me at 2, deep down. You know, I've said that all along to you privately that you've agreed that he's just too good. You can't pass on him at 2. I think he's just a generational of a talent. So I think a Will Howard type of guy, or if you want to swing bad on Ewers, why not take a flyer on him? Is that where you're at with it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think any of these quarterbacks are there. I don't think they're thinking that's their long term. You know what I mean? But you never know. You could wind up hitting on one of them, and you got them for the, middle of the road money.
Savings.
For a handful, you get the savings, and help you offset the Watson money. And that's another reason they're not taking a quarterback at 2. They're not paying that kind of money to a quarterback, and then paying Watson. So the Broncos, they set the stage for how to deal with that shit, and I think that's the model the Browns will follow.
Well, it's like he said, you can't pass on a talent like Travis Hunter. I agree with that, Parent John.
Dude, if Travis Hunter's there at 2, and they pass on him, I'm never watching them again. You just cannot. Again, the girl things. That's the issue. And if Travis Hunter is okay, if he's not one of those guys that wants to be in a certain, certain city or whatever, if he's totally fine with going wherever he's drafted, and hell yeah, you got to take that guy at 2. My gosh, absolutely, it's insane.
He said, I mean, Brock Purdy went in the 7th round, and the GOAT, Tom Brady, went in the 6th round. And, you can find gems in the later round.
Well,
what did Brock Purdy
They
Tom
landed in
Brady.
great systems with great coaches.
Yeah, Brock Purdy, Tom Brady, and who's the guy this year? Bo Nix. Where do they all land? Stability.
Correct. Great coaching, great systems. That's what I'm saying. If you got NFL talent to get drafted, you got enough talent to get drafted. Anything can happen if you get put. Here, you got the guys that are the most talented guys in the world, and they go 1-2 or whatever, and they go to the wrong team. That's a shit ass team that's poorly coached, and their career is ruined.
What did everybody say about Caleb Williams at this time? Or a lot of people were saying about him last year. Talent-wise, I know you weren't aside, I wasn't either, but talent-wise, he was supposed to be generational, right? According to a lot of these people.
Allegedly, he was.
Allegedly, but where did he end up? A bad
in the
situation,
toilet.
and he didn't have. And now they got to try to fix it. Bryce Young, very talented player coming out from Alabama, won national championship. I believe won a national championship, but was a great talent, great quarterback. Bad situation. They finally got the coach right this year. He looks like to revitalize his career.
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield lands first with McVay for a short period. It really helped, and then goes to Tampa, a stable organization, and now he's a solid NFL quarterback.
Matt Stafford. Those years in Detroit, gets out to L.A. and instantly wins the Super Bowl.
He said, to be honest, I'd be done too if they passed on Travis.
Oh, my gosh. If they passed on that guy, which I don't think they would. If Travis Hunter's sitting there too, I think they're taking Travis Hunter.
You have to. Will Howard threw some dimes in the playoffs against the top teams too. Yeah, he did. I mean, that's throws he made against Oregon, made some throws against Texas when they needed a drive. He put together a drive, led the team down the field, made some great throws on third down in the pocket. Will Howard has a lot of great intangibles that you can work with, especially in the system they'll be running. I think he could really turn into a good player. Him, Jackson Dart, and Quinn Ewers still has the talent to be a good player in the right system and probably situation. He can make every throw possible. So, yeah. But
Ryan Day he's a quarterback and he's old QB coach, and he's got a great history of picking quarterbacks. And he pursued this guy. He saw something in the guy, and he won with the guy.
Kelly as well. I mean, Chip Kelly's got a great pedigree. I mean, they're running NFL stuff and concepts. These are two NFL coaches, but he's been with too. He's playing with NFL talent, and against it, future guys. I mean, I think he's everything you want for the situation they're in this draft.
Yeah.
Perfect choice.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So.
You got the job done too. The big things. Shout out to the Buckeyes. I said earlier, a lot of people were wondering, is this the greatest Ohio? You know more than me because you watched long. Is this the greatest Ohio State team in your lifetime? Or ever? I didn't answer because I don't know. I said, but I thought they're one of the most impactful teams in the history of sports for what they did off the field.
Yeah. It's certainly the most dominant Ohio State team. I mean, the 14 team got later on, but this team was just there was. I mean, like I said, they could have put 60, 70 points up the other night if they wanted to. They were the most dominant. But the 02-03 team was what they overcame. I mean, my gosh. I mean, what people were saying about them against Miami. Miami just came off 2 national championships, I think.
The historic U team.
Yeah, and people were saying Ohio State had zero chance, not a chance in hell. People were laughing at the fact that they were even there, and just to do it the way they did, and just really beat up Miami. They beat their asses. They just beat them up. They were just more physical, and they just used Craig Krenzel. Just kept running Craig Krenzel.
And then the best player in the field that night too, and Maurice Carrette.
Yeah, I mean, and there were some great players on that squad, so that was a great team. But here, the 15 team was that team should have won a national title.
Yeah,
that was a crazy ass team too. So
19 could have won it.
Yeah. So, yeah, Jeremiah Smith just made such a drastic change on that team. I mean, you had a really good receiving core, and then you just bring him in and just makes it absolutely unstoppable. So,
Yeah, it'll be unstoppable the next 2 years too.
but I think that 15 team may have more talent.
Yeah, that 15 team was pretty. Well, I don't know if they have more talent than this team. This team's got a lot of like legit like high round guys. I mean, so did that team. I don't know. That team was more top heavy at the top of that draft.
Yeah,
Obviously, Zeke went high, and Boza went high. Mike Thomas. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, man, it is tough.
yeah. You had who was what's the name that played quarterback? They made him a receiver.
Braxton Miller.
Braxton Miller. I mean, that was a
Eli Apple went high. Marshawn Lattimore.
Von Bell.
Von Bell could cover half the field. Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah,
I mean, you had Zeke. I mean, yeah, you had dudes.
So
gosh, the O line was good too. I mean, you had Taylor Decker. Yeah, I mean Nick Vanette, tight end. Jalen Marshall. Yeah, they had dudes. But I don't know. He said, I didn't think. What did he say? I didn't think Will was that good at first. I watched, and I've changed. I have a change of heart, dude. Or I have a change of heart, dude can play. This OSU team is the most talented by far. I mean, it certainly is. I mean, they probably got the most talented player when it's all said and done.
yeah. Oh yeah,
Like,
generational.
Yeah, that's a can't miss prospect in Jeremiah Smith. But
It was crazy as how good we thought Marvin Harrison Jr. was, which he was good. But this dude's just
he's
crazy.
I never seen anything like it. I heard was it who was it the other day? Booker McFarland was on ESPN, and he said I watched him on the sideline in high school down in Florida.
Yeah.
And he said when he was a high schooler, I said this is an NFL prospect, right? He could play in the NFL right now.
Oh, he could. I mean, beginning of the season, we watched him in camp, and it was the guy could have played in the NFL then.
Yeah.
If you know what's the most impressive thing about him? When you watch video of him or you watch him in games, he's already moving to gain yards after the catch before he catches the ball.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have to stand there and catch the ball. Then, I mean, he's already continuing his route. You know what I mean?
And they set up that route, that game winner. They set it up so well with the run. And everybody's sitting there, why the hell are they running quarterback power, counter, all this stuff? And they kept running the quarterback. But it was all just to set up. They knew they were going to get that shot because that Notre Dame told you they're going to play man-to-man a lot. And they played a pretty good amount. I don't know how much throughout the game, but the whole game. But at that particular time in the game, when it forced them to think, they thought we were just trying to run out the clock. And we're going to, you know what I mean? And loaded that box. Notre Dame loaded that box a lot in that second half, and I was screaming at the TV like, "Man, they're load the box, exploit it." But then when they needed a play, he did a perfect job too, just how he ran the route, just setting up the leverage and taking off, and just like you said. And I mean, that guy against 101 against anybody. Good luck.
Yeah, he's something else. It's saying he's only a freshman. My gosh. I thought they can keep him there.
Oh yeah. Well, he ain't going nowhere. Just won the Natty. Yeah, Braxton was pretty good. Worked with Butch Reynolds too. Was coach my speed coach worked with. Shout out to them. With the new playoff format, Michigan/Buckeye game doesn't hold the same weight it used to. Obviously, you want to win it, but if you don't, but you don't have to if you are the Buckeyes. Yeah, I mean that game definitely doesn't have. Last year in 2023 was the last time that game to me meant something like how it used to. I mean, it's always going to mean something. Like I talked to a longtime fan today who's 50-something years old, a diehard Ohio State fan. He's still hurt by that game from November. Like it means a lot to him. But I think in terms of the game, in terms of defining your season, it's one of your big goals, obviously, probably number 2. But the main goal doesn't affect the main one still, which is win a national championship. And so, even if you lose that game, as long as you're 1 to 11 other games or 10 like we saw this year, you're still getting in. And It doesn't have that game up until this new format meant if you win that game, they're both good. One of them's going to the Big Ten championship, and you have to go to that game to get into the playoff or get to the national championship back in the old time, right? It meant it was more pressure in that game. That pressure's not there anymore to win. It's more just about a pride thing now.
Oh yeah, I mean and as time goes on, that's going to dissipate. That's the old guard that's still stuck in that. You got to beat Michigan. You got to beat Michigan. You know what I mean? You got to beat
Oh, I
Michigan.
believe you got to beat Michigan. I don't want to lose, but
Well, I don't either, but I want to win national titles.
well, yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want to watch. I don't want to beat Michigan and then be sitting and watching other teams playing playoffs. If you ask me which one I want to watch. I want to watch football in January and be celebrating a national title.
Like you are now.
Yeah, nobody's coming to Columbus just to beat Michigan.
No, you come.
You know what I mean?
I definitely still want to win that game. Those fans are so annoying.
Oh, they are. Yeah, well, yeah. You want to win, but I mean, here it's. But I know people that are like that. That are like, I mean, you think it's a damn apocalypse that they didn't beat Michigan. You know what I mean? It's like they ruined their week, and I mean, good grief! At the end of the day, it's entertainment. But you know, I want to win national titles. I don't. Here, we lost a game. We lost to your team in 12. We lost to the same team 3 damn times. We lost to them in the league championship. But what do we remember the most about that season? We won the Nationals
Against them.
and beat them in Nationals. So I don't care about that. I mean, I want to win national championships.
He said, "I think we're on the verge of a dynasty, guys. I think they come in. They're certainly set up for it with the talent they have. I know a lot of people are saying we're in a rebuild or all because we're losing a bunch of guys. I don't. You really got to look at who they got coming in behind these guys. A lot of these guys are in the field. Plus, you got Jeremiah Smith. You're going to be pretty competitive every year, but I think they could go on run here because I think now that Ryan Day has that monkey off his back, I mean, who knows? He's going to only evolve as a coach. You still got Chip Kelly. You're going to have Jim Knowles. I mean, you got Jeremiah Smith. I mean, you got all these guys. Caleb Downs be back for another year. John Junkins could come back. You got this O-line that dominated the playoffs were relatively young outside of Donovan Jackson and Josh Fryer. You still got some young pieces up front. And you're going to reload. Sonny Styles will be back. I mean, Kenyatta Jackson's coming in on the DN. You got some pieces still. I mean, Julian Sayin, I think a lot of people think he's to be a great quarterback. And you still got Tavian St. Clair, who is probably the number 1 quarterback in the world right now in high school. A lot of rankings have him number 1. He's that good. He was at the Elite 11 and was by far the best dude there, according to a lot of people. That says a lot. So you got him coming down the hatch too, and he'll be your quarterback. And he'll be throwing to Jeremiah Smith.
And you got more money than anybody with NIL.
Yeah.
You got all the money. So
he said the only team that could beat us is Texas next year with Arch. Maybe.
Well, that's still speculatory. I mean,
we got to see Arch.
Yeah, you got it.
The only time we've seen him was against garbage teams.
And then who's going to be their coach? Sarkisian's. Did he leave or he is leaving?
No, he signed an extension.
Oh, I thought he was going to NFL.
Well, that was a rumor, but I think he used it as leverage. He got more money. So. But yeah, I mean, who knows what that team's even going to look like though in Texas? Because they're losing some guys too. But I mean, I know they'll reload. But
yeah, I expect Alabama to be better next year.
Yeah, you would think.
So I expect them to be better. Oregon's recruiting really well, so
Michigan will have a better team.
Yeah, so
Georgia will probably still be around, I would think. Yeah, he did get extended. It was a pretty monster deal too. But well, Jersey is a good show tonight, celebrating the Buckeyes and all they meant this year, and go Bucks. And you want to tell people any final words? Why they need to like, subscribe, and share? Jersey? Did he cut out?
You there?
You there, Jersey? I don't know. I think we lost Jersey, guys. Sorry, I think the it's so windy outside that it cut out the stream there for a second. So I'm hopping on here to close out the stream. Love all you guys. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Go Bucks. Like I said, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And comment below. Let us know what you think about this championship game. Or the not championship, but the championship win, rather. And shout out to you, Param Giant. See you guys. I'll pop in early next time for sure. See you guys later. Make sure you spread the word. And like I said, tell everybody to like, subscribe, and share. And all that good stuff. We'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out of here. Gone.